Our topic is unity in diversity. Think about that. The main tenet that we teach in religious science, science of mind, is that God is all there is. God as infinite intelligence, unlimited creativity, goodness, that's all there is. But if we're looking with our human eyes, that is not what we will see. And so today is really about, for all of us, for me especially, because I'm thinking here we are in these intense times, and I better be doing my work to come out of this better than when I started. Because there's a lot of time going by and we don't know exactly what's going on. So a lot of flexibility and faith and doing our inner work to have a huge shift in our perspective. If we think about it, last week I talked about it too. If we look at, there's this macrocosm of the oneness of all life. Everything's connected at a deep level. If we look at, it's on my other paper, but I'll get it. If we look at our program, which no one has had for a long time, but we have a lot of them because people haven't been here, it says we are part of something greater. And there's a tree on the front, which says we are branches in the tree of life. Just like the branches of the tree, our individual souls are connected as a whole to one universal life. Well, the same with the body. We don't introduce someone as a part of their body. The body's consisted of all these complexities, these different parts that work together as a whole. And we call it one body, one person, one life. We don't divide it up into the different parts and the complexities. I don't know about you, but my lungs work very well with my heart. But nobody calls me a human heart. I'm a human being. It's the wholeness of us that we look for and look at. Even if there's a part of us in our own body that's damaged or sick or not working right, we still are one body. The mystics all knew this. It didn't matter what faith they were, if they were Christian or Jewish or Sufi, it didn't matter. Their message was always oneness and love. Jesus, I know he prayed that everyone would understand the unity of life. Not some people, but to treat all people the same. That we could recognize that we're all part of this one whole, that we're all here and way more connected than we realize. He said, the Father is in me and I am in the Father. We are one with God and we are one with each other. We're all part of this one whole. My dear boyfriend Rumi, 2,000 years ago, 800 years ago, he said, every forest branch moves differently in the breeze, but they sway, all connected to the roots, just like us. We have different expressions in the world, but we're all connected at the source. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, one mind, unique expressions. So what's the problem here? We know that there's oneness. We know that we're unique but wonderful, and we're all part of the whole. Well, what I feel, and I'm sure you do too, is right now in the world there's a lack of harmony. People are so separate and diverse, it seems like it's easier to find out what's wrong instead of what's right. It seems like the extremes of the diverse ways of thinking, and I think for some of us that we can look at these different value systems, these different ways people perceive the world that seem to be splitting us apart. And we can feel, how could we ever come together and find unity out of this chaos? Well, the lack of harmony is within us. We have to be willing, as I said, to shift our perspective. If people adjust the way they think, instead of from a limited view here to a big expanded view, we can start seeing a greater connectedness to life. I was reading Edgar Mitchell. It was 50 years ago. Edgar Mitchell, the 6th person to walk on the moon in the Apollo 14 mission. Wow, can you imagine the experience? He's a scientist, walking on the moon, doing his scientific research. He walked for hours. They were there walking and collecting information and research. But his most profound shift in perspective came on the return journey. There he is in the spaceship and the craft, looking out at our planet Earth and the way it's connected to all of life. And he said there was a universal connectedness. There were no boundaries. He couldn't see anything. Everything was working together. And he actually retired from his being an astronaut the next year. That was in 1971. 1972, he retired. And he founded the Institute of Noetic Science. And there's a beautiful campus up in Petaluma, California, I've been to several times, doing some Gene Houston workshops. But he said, I did my outer exploration in space. And now it's time to do the inner exploration. And the Institute of Noetic Science, IONS as it's called, is about doing consciousness work, finding the inner harmony, the inner workings of life. And he said, we focus on creativity and intuition. What beautiful ways to find our place in the world. That we're all working here as a unique and integral part of this whole thing we call life. And so a lot of the work there, it's just this beautiful, connected to the earth. It's beautiful, a lot of environmental work, but it's also doing the work of our own soul. Our own soul. We're there to do that kind of work. It's amazing. So that's the journey we're on. It's the inner journey right now. The journey finding our unique and wonderful place in the world. You know, it was Hillel, the elder, the first century Jewish sage who worked quite a bit on the Talmud. He said, if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? And if we look at this, you know, why are we here right now at this interesting time? I believe that it's about really owning who we are and finding our individual uniqueness. You know, what is our place to play in the world? If we think about it, there's no two fingerprints that are alike, no two blades of grass that are alike, no two snowflakes. There is nothing in this world that's uniquely individual, because that it is completely individual, but we are all unique. We all have our special attributes. Ernest Holmes said the thing people like the most, and people are the most interesting things in the world, the thing that they like to talk about the most is love and personality. But you may think of personalities as the way we get along with other people, but Holmes said our personality is the way we connect with our uniqueness, the way we touch that divine person within us and discover who we are. You see, people wonder, well, my gosh, why is life made with so many unique and different things? It could drive us crazy. Well, again, the Hasidic masters, which are the Jewish mystics, said that the Hebrew word for world has the same root word as concealment. And they go on to say, God hid unity well. That's where free choice, free will. So we would have to look beneath the surface to find our unity. And it's interesting, when we listen to people's stories, we were on a practitioner and minister call yesterday, welcoming our new practitioners in, which by now, at this point in the year, they would have had a big celebration down at Seaside Center for Spiritual Living with all the practitioners and ministers that had just graduated in the area, and the practitioners and ministers in our center understand that, and we would have had a celebration here at the center. But we had a Zoom call. And Reverend Janet, who's heading up our practitioner corps right now, was leading the group. And she not only had each of the practitioners tell their story, which is unique and wonderful, but you could feel the connections as we learned more and more. And then all of the practitioners, which some of our practitioners have been with us for 20 years, till what called them to be on this spiritual journey of spiritual awakening and healing and practitioner work. And you know, every story, it's interesting, you think you know somebody really well, but all stories expand and grow. And as we listen to those stories, how people are unique and wonderful, the connection builds. The connection builds. And it's about, in our life, once we step on this spiritual path, there really isn't any going back. We may falter or fall a little bit, but we're on this path of learning more and awakening to who we are and why we are here. We need each other so much. You know, I was looking at one of Ernest Holmes' books, and he said, he must have said something. I left in my other, here it is. Here it is. I left it right here. I want you to listen to this because it really brought tears into my eyes, because this is such a true story. And if we could, when Harold's saying something wonderful is happening right now, this is what we could think about. He said, there is goodness in my fellow man. Goodness that needs my recognition. What if we entered a room with that thought instead of, I wonder what these people are going to believe, and I wonder what they're going to say, and I wonder what's going to happen now, and I wonder what. But if we could say, hey, there's somebody here, a good person that needs me to remind them of that, needs my recognition of their goodness. What if we had that consciousness? For that person is hungry for someone to see them as they really are. You see, that personality thing I was telling you about, Ernest Holmes said it's when we touch that divine person within us, that spark of divinity within us, and how we're going to show it and develop and flower it into the world. We need each other's help to do that. Motivation, upliftment. He goes on to say, the people in whom we fail to find good. Do you have any of those in your mind right now? People you can't really see are made of goodness? Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, I know better than that. He said they come from the same mind. They operate under the same law. And they express the same life we do. What if we could all start looking at each other as coming from the same stuff? Our inability to see their divine origin is our own self-created stumbling block. I want you to think about that, because that really changed, woke me up as what if we entered a room thinking, people are here for me to see the goodness in them. There is a law of good, a unity of good, which Ernest Holmes talked about so much, that unity of good, which he said is when we have one hand reaching toward the infinite spirit we call God, and the other reaching out to our fellow humans, to this world where we feel connected. Because once we find that goodness in ourselves, once we really tap into our own uniqueness, then we can see that in other people too. When we've built walls around who we really are, when we've built walls there, then we have the same problem seeing that goodness in other people. I want you to think right now of just one person, not somebody out there that we don't know, but somebody in your own life that just bugs you. We'll just leave it there. Just bugs you right now. Just somebody that bugs you. If there's somebody here that doesn't have one person, I'll have to tell you, let me be that person, because I can bug people. So let's just think of somebody. Think of somebody. And I want you to shift your perception. What goodness can you see from that person? Because it's somebody who needs more recognition, more understanding. And we all have the power to do that. We all have the power right now as we stand together in knowing we're not in this situation by accident. We haven't been called together as a community by accident. We are here because we want to do the work that's being called in the world today, to find our unity and our diversity and love it all. As Mary said, how we would be boring God if we were all the same. That's why we're unique expressions of life, where we're unique creative creatures. Ernest Holmes also said that if we really focus on the universality of life, we can become more creative, more unique. How does that work? How can we look at the universality of life and become more unique and creative, because we tap into that power that's greater than we are. The power that's greater than we are, and we can do our part to bring us together. So I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes right now, because I know the power of prayer. And I know just this morning, just hearing from different people, that the world needs our prayers right now. And as Jesus prayed for all of us to understand the unity of life, I'm just going to invite us to open our hearts and minds and see that beautiful tapestry of this thing called life. It might be Indra's net that you see, that beautiful web of all these separate jewels that is our bright light, our uniqueness, our creativity, our intuition, our greater understanding. Just feel that great tapestry of life. Or if we're singing the song of music, you can see this great orchestra where we all have a piece, a note, something to play to make the harmony and the beauty of this life real. And as we open our minds and hearts to that unity of goodness, that understanding that life is inherently good and we have a beautiful part to play, I'm going to invite each of us to just expand our being. Expand ourselves to be part of the connectivity of life. And as we connect to others, feel the receptivity of all that goodness, all that love showering back on us. We live in a reciprocal universe. Life is inherently good, and so are we. There is something wonderful happening right now, both individually as each and every one of us, and universally as this beautiful life we've been given, and how we all play together in this unfolding of something greater that we don't even know yet, but we are a part of. I simply in this moment send my prayers to the beautiful beings for each person that has a situation in their life where they're called to have greater faith, greater understanding, a larger knowing that there's something greater going on. I see that for each and every person as I know that for myself. And it is in this moment with that great, beautiful understanding of this life of universal connectedness that I release this picture to this infinite mind of good, knowing right now we are all playing a vital and important part. I release it. I see that faith, that love, that joy expanding. I let it go, and I let it be. And so it is. And I just want you to know that if there's any time you feel a little down, a little low, have a question, that I'm looking at each and every one of you, as I know our practitioners and ministers are, as a beautiful spark of love and light with everything you need right now to be full, whole, and complete. I love you and I appreciate you, and let's let the creativity flow as we accept life in its fullness. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.